welcome. Please refrain from speaking while another person is speaking. Where did we learn that? First grade? I think, yeah. At the appropriate time on the agenda, individuals wishing to provide public comment will be called upon one at a time to do so in accordance with Board Bylaw 9323. The board cannot and will not respond to non-agendized items, but a staff member will reach out to you on matters that may need to be reviewed as appropriate. Action taking in closed session, none. Pledge of Allegiance. Sophia, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Item D3, approval of agenda. This calls for a motion. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second to the motion?
I have a parliamentary point of order before we get started. I do have a concern because I've had a number of emails about discipline, and it was something that I requested to be put on the agenda back in July. And we've had a number of issues with discipline, especially in the middle schools, which was kind of a highlight. And I just want to make it plain that this was the next official board meeting, and we've already got into school, and I was hoping we would have some kind of discussion on the issue of discipline because of the problems we've been seeing in some of the sites. I just wanted to make that public statement before we started.
Thank you.
Shouldn't that be more appropriate in board comments? That's just a point of order, Mr. Pearl.
I actually think it's acceptable for that comment to be
Okay,
made.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go back to D3. Do we have a motion? Yes, this is Van. And do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Student preferential vote. In favor. Thank you. It's an interesting time. We see a lot of things happening around us, a lot of things happening on television that are meaningful in some ways. I'd like to think that this is the basic area where people can come to publicly discuss their problems and their opinions. There's no lesser board that you can come to. You can always go to the city council, but to try and attend meetings of the Riverside school board or on up is very difficult. So it's a good thing to have school board meetings. It's a good thing to hear your comments. You won't always agree with the person sitting next to you. It's okay. I sometimes, once or twice this year, didn't even agree with my wife. No dinner that night. Just kidding. But I want you to feel that you can come here and that you're welcome, no matter what your opinion is. We like to hear it. It's hard for us to get a feel for the entire community, and sometimes even for what the teachers would like or wish. So this is the place to do it. And on behalf of my board, I welcome you here. Student representative reports. Scott Richards will introduce the Murrieta Mesa High School rep.
Well, good evening, board. Good evening, Dr. Andrus. It's my pleasure to introduce you all to Murrieta Mesa's junior, Caitlin Coleman. So I was introduced to her as she was coining the phrase, a soft-spoken, intentional leader. And I was like, what does that mean? And, comes to find out she is not only an amazing listener, but she's also not the one that's going to raise her voice to try to get her opinions out there. She is really known for just kind of having a quiet stance, but when she does start talking, it's evident because all her peers stop and just listen to her. So she has amazing leadership qualities. She's a hard worker and incredibly organized. She currently has 4 AP classes that she's attending and doing wonderfully in. She's in leadership, and she's extremely active in our swim team. She's also known for having an amazingly large heart. Since 9th grade, she's been volunteering at the animal shelters and animal rescues from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. most Saturdays and Sundays in order to set up adoptions for kittens and puppies. On her spare time, do you have any spare time? She loves baking, and I hear her cookies are amazing, which, by the way, I need some proof of. And she is aspiring to be an attorney, so I do trust her. So without further ado, Miss Caitlin Coleman.
Welcome.
Hi, hello everyone. I hope you're having a great week so far. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to be Mesa's Student Board Representative. So for this first slide, Mesa's main point that we try and get across to our students is to definitely let them pursue their passion and to definitely leave a legacy. And so for our first picture, I put our M picture, which is kind of how we start off the school year. All of our student body and all of our staff members go down to the field to take this picture, and then we go into our first day rally, which leads us into the school year. And I think it's just an amazing start to the year. For activities, we had our first home football game recently, which had an amazing turnout. We had over 800 students show up. It is senior season, so we've had senior sunrise and senior parking spots. Those were super fun. I saw pictures. I got to help paint and all that stuff. We also had our class of elections. Those turned out great. Everybody got super excited to meet all the candidates. We also had our staff appreciation football game. That turned out great. A lot of staff showed up. And then we had our freshman ice cream social, which I think is a great opportunity for freshmen to go to create new friends and new bonds with upperclassmen. A lot of freshmen showed up and really liked that, I heard. So for academics, we have our National Honor Society. They just had their first induction this year recently, and several of our students got inducted, which is amazing. We just had a student senior parent meeting to prepare for college applications and FAFSA, and then we also have our 6-week grading period coming up next week. For athletics, our football team, they just beat Valencia with a score of 38-33. Our boys water polo team, they're doing amazing. They're currently undefeated, and they just beat Ramona with a score of 23-7. That's pretty awesome. Our girls volleyball team, they also did amazing just recently, beating Elsinore with 3 out of the games, like the rally games. And then for our tennis team, they just beat Riverside Poly by only 1 point, which is really challenging, so I'm really proud of them. Our cross-country team just came in first place at their recent meet, and then our Mesa Golf girls team just had their first tournament against Elsinore High School, and we do not have the results for that yet. For Mesa culture, we have Go Green Fridays, which are my personal favorite because if you go and then you get checked in, they go to your class competition points. At the end of the year, the winning class gets a great, big prize. And then we also have our Friday lunchtime games that also points to go to our competitions. So we have a lot of people showing up for those. We just did musical chairs. It was super exciting, super competitive. Our senior of the month, oh my God, I wish you guys could have been there. He was so excited. This is Tristan. He was literally crying in the videos that we saw. He was just ecstatic. It was so heartwarming. It made my day. And then last Thursday, we had our military appreciation football game. Great turnout. And I mean, it was pretty awesome. So we usually have a back to school dance, but instead this year we did a back to school bubble bash, which turned out great. It was the first one that we've ever hosted. We will definitely be doing it again, and who doesn't like bubbles? They're awesome. We also had Miss Lori's Children's Clothing Exchange. It's an event hosted at Mesa twice a year, and this year we helped 195 local families. They showed up, and then all of the clothes that were left over got donated to foster children. So that, I think, was amazing that we got to be a part of, and that we get to host that twice a year. I wish we could do it more often, but thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Now we'll call on Matt Bean to introduce the MCA student rep. Gavin Larson will present his report.
Good evening, board. Thank you guys all for being here tonight. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the MCA board rep, Gavin Larson. Gavin definitely depicts our school's motto of SOAR. He's self-aware, optimistic, accountable, and resilient. Gavin's a lifer in our district, so he's a great representative of our board. He started at Rail Ranch in elementary, went to Chavela in middle school, moved on to MV, and then last year decided to come over for a little smaller campus and join us at MCA. That was a great move for us because we've really seen him grow and mature in his time with us, and he's starting to take on more and more leadership roles. He's on the superintendent's advisory council. He's also one of our leadership students who help plans all of our Fun Friday activities, and he'll be planning prom and other events on campus. Gavin, and when I was getting to know him and talking to him, obviously I know him from last year as well, but when we sat down, one of the things that impressed me is his self-reflection about his own personal growth, and he talked about the impact that MCA's had on him. He said, it's really allowed him to kind of push himself out of his comfort zone and to find avenues to lead others around him. And the thing that I liked is it said the teachers push him to be better. So that's a pretty cool self-reflective statement. Gavin has a love for sports. We talked a lot about sports. It was a great meeting. He said he grew up playing football and loves all the sports. He's given back to his community by coaching his little brother's Pop Warner team. So anybody in here who knows about coaching, that takes a lot of time, and that's volunteerism, one of our profile of the graduate things that we're looking for, giving back to the community. And then on the weekends, he earns a little extra money by filming games for the Pop Warner and doing sideline photos, which, that's kind of the trend now. Students like to see the results of their games and things like that. Last thing, a little fun fact, Gavin told me he's been attending some of these meetings in the past because his grandma, Miss Larson over there, Ellen Larson's a past board member. So he has a tie to this community with the board and everything else. So please welcome Gavin Larson.
Thank you, Mr. Bean. Appreciate that. Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are doing wonderful. My name is Gavin Larson, like you said, but I want to first start off by saying what an amazing honor this is to represent my school, Murrieta Canyon Academy, and thank you guys for your time today to have us student reps today. And without further ado, let's get started. Is this a thing? Oh, okay. So Murrieta Canyon Academy is a place where students soar to success. Soar meaning being self-aware, optimistic, accountable, and resilient. Our teachers, the MCA vision is to committing to every student every day to ensure life readiness. And our teachers and support staff strive to create an individualized learning environment and supportive campus community. And I have to say the teachers do an amazing job at that. They make the teachers feel welcome, or they make the students feel welcome and at home. And they make us feel like we're part of a family there. And academics, MCA teachers, administration, and support staff work together to meet the individualized needs of the students on campus. So they're making sure students get to understand their curriculum and making sure the students are turning in their work on time. And MCA has a daily guidance class and daily office hours to provide academic interventions and support to all students. And to promote greater academic success, MCA also has an 8th period every day for students to complete additional credit recovery for independent study coursework to get back on track for graduation. Guidance and leadership. So the leadership program is offered during fifth period, which is led by the amazing Mrs. Kowalski. I'm in leadership, and while we do participate in traditional guidance and seminar activities, we as students in leadership create posters, classroom presentations, and school-wide activities for the social emotional learning and Fun Fridays. I'll get to Fun Fridays in a minute. Those are amazing. So all MCA students have a daily guidance class, which is fifth period. Guidance class serves as a homeroom to create campus connectedness, academic support, and social emotional support. Tuesday and Thursdays, students participate in seminar with where they can seek additional tutoring, complete makeup work, including quizzes, tests, or consult with a teacher if they need any additional help. And for activities, so at MCA, we do a lot of activities for the students. Two examples right here. For example, 2 Fridays a month, MCA Leadership hosts Fun Fridays during guidance period, promoting school collaboration and connectedness, and it's amazing. So to build student connectedness and campus community, students participate in many games and activities on the first day of school. So on the right-hand side of the screen, we played dodgeball, which was actually not too long ago, and it was very fun. I do say one thing though, the teachers didn't allow headshots, so we couldn't hit kids in the head or we would get out. So there's one thing, but yeah, it's But and then the middle we on the first day of school we all played cornhole. Another thing that I have to say is the students were not good at it at all. So we had to move the students up so they can actually get closer and score it and like get it in the hole. So there's one thing right there with our activities, and there's just amazing environment to be a part of, and it makes all of us feel welcome, and it's amazing. So right here is MCA support staff and teachers welcoming the students back to school on the first day on the left, and I have to say I love the teachers so much here, and on the right is our back to school night. The teachers and staff grilled us up some free food, and Mr. Bean on the bottom was welcoming students at MCA. And I just want to say thank you guys for your time. It's been a pleasure, and I hope you guys all have wonderful days.
I'll call on Celeste Scallion, principal at Vista Murrieta, to introduce the Vista Murrieta rep, who is Isabella Acosta. Welcome, you both.
Well, good evening, board, Dr. Andrus. Thank you so much for providing us an opportunity for our kids to share what's happening on our campuses throughout the district. It is my honor to introduce you to our Vista Murrieta High School student representative, Isabella Acosta. Isabella is the epitome of character, leadership, attitude, scholarship, and service while balancing the many responsibilities of school, home, and community. As our ASB Vice President, Isabella leads with humility, is always putting everyone else first, and works tirelessly behind the scenes without needing to be in the spotlight. Isabella's commitment to service is evident in all she does. Isabella volunteers at summer camps for children in foster care, devotes her time to child care at her church, and is committed to her civic duty through her work in youth court. Her dedication to making a difference doesn't stop there. Isabella is also a law enforcement pathway student, aspiring to be a family law attorney, where she will continue to advocate for others. With her kind, thoughtful nature, Isabella is not only a great leader, but also a great listener, while helping other students navigate challenges with grace and wisdom. We are beyond excited to have Isabella share the monthly snapshots of incredible things happening at VMHS. And we would like to welcome Isabella. We're proud of you.
Thank you, Ms. Scallion. I'm Isabella, and I'm extremely honored to be serving as this year's Vista Murrieta High School representative. Okay. In the first photo, it depicts our BBC section. On campus, there's a very obvious feeling of spirit throughout everywhere you go, especially on Fridays when we wear our blue and gold. In the second photo, we have a photo of some of the groups in our school for culture. We have been very intentional on building up cultural proficiency on campus, and as Ms. Gallion says, everyone has a seat at the table, and everyone can and can lead from any seat. In our third photo, we have a photo of some of our student volunteers for audio tech. This, I thought, represents just the various pathways students can take on campus with the multiple opportunities they're given. On our campus, we have a strong tradition of class, and this year we have opened the school year with positivity and great energy. School started, and the campus has felt extremely vibrant, and it was great seeing all the emphasis on what it means to be a Bronco demonstrating class. So far this school year, we've had a lot of activity. We had our Leadership Day of Service. This was able to unite 135 student leaders, and they were able to show their commitment to service through action the day prior to the opening day. Staff members were able to prepare their rooms for the first day of school the day before. Link Crew Leadership hosted their welcome barbecue for freshmen. The first Friday of the school year, every freshman was welcomed with positive energy and received a t-shirt for attending the barbecue. Our seniors also had their senior sunrise, which was a metaphoric senior sunrise event in the quad with music, food, and lots of photo opportunities. Our marching band has also begun. The Vista Murrieta Golden Alliance has been working diligently on getting their 2024 program Singularity done. They've been putting a lot of hours in, and the work is definitely paying off. In addition to this weekend we will have our first ever leadership summit in partnership with Varsity Brands. During this, 150 student leaders from Vista Murrieta, along with student leaders from our sister schools, will be united and have the unique opportunity to work with student empowerment team of Varsity Brands to put leadership into action throughout our campuses. The guest speaker is Kevin Atlas, who is actually the first basketball player to go Division I with only one arm. He will share his story of commitment and overcoming challenges. Coming up tomorrow, we have our Club Rush event. This will allow for students to join clubs they may seem interested in. We are also seeing a renewed interest in these clubs on our campus. We are expected to have over 75 student-led clubs this Friday. These clubs range from special interests such as gardening and Pokemon Club. We will also have community service clubs such as Interact Club and Habitat for Humanity. We also have various culture clubs, and we also have career-oriented clubs such as Women in STEM and Medical Club. We offer several interventions to our students, such as office hours, morning tutoring, and intervention classes. In addition to this, our state results have came back. They have stayed mostly consistent, and we are constantly reflecting on our practices to best support our students academically. Our JRT, aka the Junior Reflective Task, has a 97 completion rate. Additionally, we also have a 73% AP score, 73% pass rate for our AP exams, which is actually the highest it's ever been. Students who received a 5 on the exam have received a certificate for their academic achievement. Counseling. The counseling team has completed all the necessary schedule changes so far. Fall transcript reviews are starting with seniors the week of September 9th to September 13th this week. Freshmen are going to follow with the week of September 23rd. Before the one-on-one with their counselors, seniors will complete the new standardized pre- and post-survey during their presentation on decision-making. They will also access and get a tutorial on their CCGI accounts. This is the hub for their CSU, UC, and CCC applications. Okay. Our athletics, so far our Bronco football season has started. The boys are currently 3-0, and our Bronco football actually broke a sale record, and they were able to, we were actually able to break all recent sale records for a football game. We also continue to hold our Golden Bronco event to provide a spirit-filled and a fun community event for our members in the community. Our girls' volleyball season has begun. Last week, they actually won their tournament, and that was really amazing. And continuing on, our varsity volleyball has played 3 games in their preseason so far. The boys' water polo has opened their season with their first game, and we're excited to continue supporting them throughout that. As for our girls' tennis, our girls' golf, and cross country, due to inclement weather, there have been some changes, but we're excited to see how those seasons go. MTSS, during the first week, staff and students were able to be trained on the expectations for behavior on campus. In addition, we were also able to go over the elements of class and what they should be, how they should be demonstrated on campus. Additionally, our student support office has been awarding students for showing the pillars of class on campus. Our Bronco Nation Association leadership has developed a Spirit Week centered around emotions, which is also centered around the movie Inside Out because of their relation to emotions. For example, Tuesday was Wear Orange for Anxiety. This allowed for students to be reminded to take a moment to slow down and breathe, as well as to use mindfulness and grounding techniques to bring yourself back to the present. Tuesday allowed for understanding as to how facing fears can lead to growth. Today, we also hosted our suicide prevention walk, which related to the theme of Inside Out as well. Students had the opportunity to visit themed booths that each represented a different emotion. At each booth, they participated in different activities and explored strategies to regulate their emotions in a fun and educational way. Additionally, students received a punch card, which could be filled out at each station, and at the end, they would receive a special prize. On the ranch, we extended our spirit into the community beyond our campus, and we invited families, staff, and students to attend the back-to-school luau, which was extremely fun. We were excited to host our future Bronco Family Night, which allowed for children, nieces, and nephews. They were extremely excited to run through the tunnel and dot the Vista Eye as our band played. Project 99. Project 99 allowed for leadership students to work with this Project 99 organization to spread awareness about mental health. We decorated 500 rocks with encouraging messages, which will be displayed around our community. Yesterday, our ROTC cadets led a beautiful 9/11 ceremony. This honored the impact of the tragic events of September 11, 2001. This student-led event included guest speakers with personal stories from the Murrieta Fire Department. Additionally, our Murrieta Police Department provided a message of unity and coming together throughout the nation. Thank you guys for allowing me with the time to highlight the amazing activities at our school. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll have Stephen Depphaus to introduce the Murrieta Valley High School student rep, Megan Lewis. Welcome.
All right. Good evening, board. Good evening, Dr. Andrews and community members. Hopefully this is a familiar face. If you remember Megan from last year, she served as our Board of Education student rep, and so she's back to serve for Murrieta Valley for a second term, and we hope that she'll just continue with us for 3 years and represent us well. So Megan is involved in our ASB and leadership programs, coordinating several events for our campus. She's the Virtual Enterprise Club president, and she's in her second year of the CTE business pathway and hopes to pursue that career. She's inspired by her parents, who are also prominent members in the business community. Megan does embody the values of our motto, the right way, doing things with respect, integrity, teamwork, and excellence. And so we're proud to have her serve her second year as our student rep for Murrieta Valley High School. Welcome, Megan Lewis.
Hi, board. Hi, community. I'm so glad to be back for a second year. Although it's new faces with the student reps, I'm happy to meet them and hopefully build some relationships. Funny thing, last year I told you guys how I procrastinated. This year, it was different. I did it a week in advance, so making progress. So today we're obviously gonna talk about fall sports, the vision statement, and I wanted to share our school slogan, and then we're gonna talk about academics and climate and culture. So first, let's start with fall sports, because who doesn't love sports? So football, I had their first game 2 weeks ago against Servites. Unfortunately, they lost, but our student section was booming. It was like everyone was out. We had people from Vista and Mesa. It was very fun to watch. They are currently 84th in the nation and 16th overall in California, which is really impressive. So volleyball, you're like, that's not a court. I know what you're thinking. Why are they in somewhere very tropical? They happily and luckily got to miss the first week of school to attend Hawaii and participate in the David Moe's tournament. And they finished third, which is a huge accomplishment because not everyone gets invited to go to that tournament. Cross country is very successful, although the climate is rough. They're still running and still training. So girls finished third place in their first race, and our boys team finished second. Girls golf, we have a sophomore, Maddie Salmon, won her first tournament a few weeks ago. She's very successful. We can't wait to see what she continues to bring for that team and what the rest of the team brings. We have girls golf. They have a tournament coming up, I think, on the 11th. I recommend signing up. Oh, wait, it passed. My bad. We also have boys water polo. Their season started. We're very excited to see what they have, are going to continue to do this season. And we also have a girls tennis team. Can't wait to see what they put out for us. So our vision statement at MV is to service and commit to every student every day without predictions. I really like this statement because our teachers do a very good job with showing it and putting it into action, which is very nice. Our slogan this year is soar into our potential. And I thought it was pretty funny because we're Hawks and we soar. We want to be better. But I think it's pretty cool. And we also got shirts with that on the back. Academic-wise, a lot has happened, but yet not a lot. So we do have office hours every Thursday and Friday from 10 o'clock to 10:32. And basically we can go to the classes that we need help or want help in. And if you have a 3.5 GPA or higher, you are considered to have Honor Hawk status. And if you have that, you have the option to either go to a class or go sit in the library and get the work done. 6-week grades are coming up in 2 weeks, I think. And then we have had PSAT signups for juniors. When I tell you my mom read this email with a smile on her face and laughing, I wasn't very happy about that. But you know what? I'm signed up. I'm ready. Juniors are ready to do this. We're ready to start looking at colleges and going and continuing to talk about colleges. Every student on our campus has the option to meet with colleges that come down on our campus and present. So we have Northern Arizona University coming down next week, and then we have Santa Barbara coming down in 2 weeks, and that's for this month. And we have a whole bunch, and students love it. Culture and climate, when I was making this slide, I looked back on it today, and I'm wait, this is very Valentine's themed. Wrong month. But we had our first club rush on August 27th. We have over, I think, 100 clubs now, consisting of cultural, ethnicities and different interests, so MedC, VE, what's the other one? Letters for Love, study buddies, and all this stuff, so you can get community service hours or just join a club that people have common interests with. We also had our ice cream social already for the freshmen. Freshmen love going. They just have to show their ID, and they get free ice cream. We've had a lot of kids, seniors, come up and try to get free ice cream, and it's really funny because, they don't even look like freshmen, and they still try. And then we had our back-to-school night on Monday. It was really, really fun to watch every parent come on with their students. Some students went just for extra credit, but it's fun. It was great to see that turnout. And then we had a very successful blood drive, on the 28th of August. And I remember Mr. Stratton, he's why don't you donate blood? He brought it up to the class, and if you don't know who Mr. Stratton is, he's the ASB director. And I looked at him, and I remember laughing, and he's why are you laughing? I'm I don't do needles. And he's why don't you do needles? I'm you should have seen me getting my wisdom teeth out. It was a whole, a whole sequence. It was a High School Musical, how kids are dramatic and they sing. That was me with the needle, except I wasn't singing. And then we also had our 9/11 ceremony that JROTC put on and our law enforcement pathway put on yesterday at 8:30, and we invited the community and students to go if they wanted. I unfortunately didn't go because I had some homework to catch up on, but I know everyone loved it. And thank you. I don't know where my last slide went, but it was
Megan, would you clarify why it's so important for students to sign up for PTSA?
It's very important because it helps you go into college, and it's easier, and it basically prepares you to take the real SATs. It's just practice, but it gets you in front of the material that's going to be on that test. And I highly recommend, even though it could be stressful, it's going to help you in the long run.
Thank you. I'm going to add to that, you can also win scholarship money if you do well on PSATs.
Well, and the other thing I should add to this, as long as we're talking about PTSA, is that we haven't had any students approach us recently to ask us to sign up. And you should do that because we'd be glad to do it. PTA is something great.
Yeah, I think you need to sign up, Paul. So, you all did great, by the way. I'm very happy to have students back.
At this time, I'd like to thank the high school student representatives for your reports. We understand that you all have very busy schedules, wow, and other school obligations, so please feel free to leave the meeting if you like. Okay, no problem. Thank you again. Don't be ashamed. I mean, thank you again for a great presentation to every one of you. I have to tell you, when I entered my four-year high school back in the age of rocks and stones and carts, it lasted 1 week. All freshmen had to wear beanies. You know what a beanie is? It's a little funny round hand. So embarrassing, it's incredible. And the biggest thing that happened to us during that time was not all the wonderful activities that we just heard about. It was just simply trying to keep from being stuffed in a trash can anymore. This is so exciting to hear what these people have to show. And as a design major, I can tell you that the slides that we've seen and the printed materials that we have are high quality designs. These kids know their stuff and they're going to be very ready to go into the onto the outside world and find occupations. They're sharp, they're put together. Well, now we have public comments. And I have to read you the, well, if I can find it. There's so much paper up here, it's incredible. Used to have it in the drawer, but we don't have drawers anymore. Well, I'll just tell you. Be respectful. Don't talk over other people. And follow the time limit. We want to hear what you have to say, and we can't hear it if somebody else is blabbing in your ear. So just knock it off and treat each other kindly and respect each other, and we'll be just fine.
The first one is Stephanie Delphos.
Okay. Oh. Yeah, this is Stephanie Delphos. Delphossi. Thank you for helping me. Who will be followed by Mr. Campos. Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you. Do I have to?
A little farther down so we can.
All right, good morning all. I'm going to try and do this really quick. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Stephanie Delphossi, and I'm a mother, MV-USD parent, and founding president of CJ Smiles. CJ, my vibrant son, a Valha Elementary student and avid soccer player, brought smiles to everyone he met. He was joyful, well-loved, and active. In 2019, my world and that of everyone who loved CJ turned upside down when he was diagnosed with rhabdomyosarcoma, a rare and aggressive form of cancer. For 2.5 years, CJ fought with an unimaginable courage. While in treatment and when able, CJ loved to be at school. He was open about the battle with his classmates, many of whom would share well wishes and prayers as he continued with treatment. Despite CJ's strength and best medical care possible, my husband, my daughter, and I lost CJ in January 2022. This experience opened my eyes to a world that many are unaware of, the world of childhood cancer. The impact of childhood cancer is profound and far-reaching. It's the reality that affects families from all walks of life, and yet it remains one of the lesser-known health crises. Each year, approximately 15,000 children in the United States are diagnosed with cancer. Childhood cancer is the leading cause of death by disease among children, surpassing even asthma and diabetes. Yet childhood cancer research remains significantly underfunded compared to adult cancers. When CJ was battling this disease, my family and I had very little understanding of what childhood cancer truly entailed. We were unprepared for the emotional, physical, and financial toll it would take on our family. This lack of awareness is not unique to us. Many families face the same overwhelming uncertainty. In response to our loss, we established CJ Smiles to support children battling cancer and to raise awareness about realities of the disease. Our mission is to provide financial support for families in need and increase public awareness about the challenges faced by young cancer patients. I'm here today to request the support of Murrieta Valley Unified School District in our mission. Schools play such a crucial role in community awareness and education. I would like the district to join me and us in recognizing awareness by joining many other California school districts in formally recognizing every September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month and incorporating information about childhood cancer to educate students, staff, and parents about the critical issue. Imagine if we held a goal-themed football game or Friday flags or other school events in September that would help raise awareness. CJ was an MVUSD student through this tragic experience. I have met other Murrieta Valley Unified School District families who are also suffering the impacts of childhood cancer. It's not just our students, it's their younger or older siblings, other family members who are affected by childhood cancer. Awareness is the first step toward change. It helps to foster a more informed, compassionate community and encourages support for affected families. Imagine a world where every child battling cancer has the support they need, where the research is adequately funded, and where families are not left to navigate this difficult journey alone. Together, we can make this vision a reality. I ask for your support in spreading awareness about childhood cancer and in advocating for those who need our help the most. With your support, I'd like the Green Flag to work together to not only honor CJ's memory, but to let our students know that no child in our community will face this battle without the school community support they deserve. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. We'll take up your challenge, and as a board, we'll discuss your thoughts and see if we can come up with a recommendation. I certainly think we can. No reason why we shouldn't. Steve Campos, followed by Lucky Hartunian. Welcome.
Good evening, Cabinet, Superintendent, and trustees. So I want to read a couple things. The first one I'm going to read from is AR 4119.25. It's for all personnel, political activities of employees. Under no circumstances shall district employees, number one, use district funds, services, supplies, equipment, work hours, or other public resources to urge the support or defeat of any ballot measure or candidate, including any candidate for election to the governing board, which is Ed Code 7054, 7056, and Government Code 8314. It also states a little further down, political activities of employee organizations. Employee organizations shall not use district funds, services, supplies, or equipment, such as staff mailboxes or the district mail system, to urge and support or defeat any ballot measure or candidate, including any candidate for election to the board, Education Code 7054. If people want to look into other things, Board Policy 1160, also there's the political process. I'm not going to read it, but that's basically for community members. And the reason why I bring this up is to first to address the superintendent. At a recent meeting, a recent union organizing meeting, the superintendent was there, and there was meeting there with a candidate and also a seated board member. Now, there's a couple concerns with that, and I think that the community deserves at least an explanation as to what the role of the superintendent being at that meeting is, as I understand that there was some organizing and planning for political campaigns. And so also just to make sure that there's an explanation why they were there. So obviously there was a role and then there was a purpose for them being there, and I think that the community deserves at least a statement as to why and to clarify that. Now, a couple of other things. As a union teacher, member for 29 years, a couple of things I'd like to address with the union leadership first. You know, when you start picking and choosing, I understand there's an endorsement process, but you also have to remember, as a union, leadership should always try to build relationships with every school board candidate, because you don't know who's going to win. You might be putting your money behind and resources behind a certain candidate, but your job, as well as the superintendent's, is to make sure that you build relationships with all the candidates, because you don't know which way the election is going to fall. And that being said, you know, I'm hoping that union leadership will learn to build those bridges and not isolate one group over the other, because that can become a problem, that can become problematic later on down the road when maybe someone gets a little hurt or whatever because they were never given the opportunity to build that relationship with the superintendent or other board members. In terms of a member, if I was a member, I'd be very disappointed in my leadership, because my hope is that they're building relationships with everybody, no matter who wins, because at that point, you know that they're going to advocate for you regardless of who is seated there. Oh. Thank you.
Thank you. After Ms. Haratunian will be Francis Burns.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Superintendent. I hope you understand it's God who gave you the positions of authority to hold up and stand up for the children of this city as well as their parents, and do the right things for them and the employees. There's a huge decline in public schools in California alone right now is 310,000 children have left the school districts thus far. So what's driving the decline? The Institution of Statistics say it's parents' dissatisfaction with their education, their children's education that they're receiving. CRT, children porn books, pushing kids to change their gender, and on it goes. 47% of state residents think that the quality of education in the state's K-12 public schools has gotten worse. And I can tell you, yes, it has. My own brother, who had his children in this district, took them out because of all the bullying and all the CRT and all the garbage that was taught. Took his children out of here. I have a daughter who decided not to let her child come into the school district because of that. Boy, oh boy. And there you are trying to pass on the ballot a school bond. Do you honestly think parents want to vote on a bond of taxes that they will have to pay so that you can continue hurting these children? I don't think so. You just faced August 17th of a 13-year-old making criminal threats while possessing firearms to attack Warm Springs Middle School of this district. And did you think it wasn't going to happen, Mr. Andrus? I warned you. Not to mention 1 week ago today, a trans kid just killed teachers and children of another school district because of all the hate that's being taught instead of real education. The indoctrination that messes their minds up. I brought this statistic to you numerous times, and nobody listens. And now parents will be facing a new situation that is going to happen. It's called the new grading for equity. You're going to be facing that very soon. It's students with a lower exam score ends up with the same final grade as a student with a higher score by earning higher grades in daily assignments or completing extra credit work. They will be made equal. And if you think I'm kidding, newspaper articles, they're right here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And after Mr. Burns will be Jen Baker. Welcome.
Thanks, President Diffley. Before I begin, I have a quick clarification about something. I filled out 2 cards about 2 different things. So for which topic am I being called up here? Would you clarify that for me?
Inappropriate student behavior.
Okay. All right. Good evening, board members, President Diffley, Dr. Andrus. I don't know if I'm going to be able to articulate as fully as I can in the 3 minutes given. But yeah, this is an infuriating topic for me. I'm going to talk about 3 students in the abstract. Student A was a student of mine at the beginning of the year. First day of school, while I'm introducing students, the student is out there talking loudly and making fun of students' names, and then refuses to listen to my directions. The student, when we go into the class to assign seat, student refuses to sit in the assigned seat and just leaves the class. So then I suspended the student for 2 days, as allowed under law. When he comes back the next week, I showed him to his, or attempted to show him to his assigned seat, and he refused, got up, and left the classroom again. He was suspended again by myself for another 2 days. The following week, he was transferred out of my class, went to a different math teacher's class. Same pattern continues. I just talked to his teacher today or yesterday, and he's doing similar things, just getting up, leaving, using inappropriate sexual remarks to students, et cetera, et cetera. I have another student who basically was causing havoc with my colleague, special ed teacher. Repeatedly was asked to leave, refused. Then when did leave, ran into my colleague, hurt her shoulder. She had to be out yesterday. And then the student came back into the class despite being told not to come back. Somehow made it back in, and then it took 3 administrators, I don't know how long, to have him removed. There was another student today who threw a crayon from downstairs in my 600 building up to the 2nd floor and hit a student in the eye. Now, what do all these students have in common? They're all students with IEPs with deep behavioral issues, and they have discipline records a mile long. I was considering bringing some of them in here, but we would be discussing this for the next 3 hours. So I don't know what it takes for some of you to understand that these kids are in the wrong place. They have deep behavioral issues and they need special programs. Please do not allow them in the general ed class. You guys need to do better than this. I can't articulate more because of the time, but as you can tell, I'm pretty pissed off about it. And I'm not the only one. I'm the only one courageous enough to talk to you about it. Please get together and discuss this with Dr. Andrus and the Director of Student Support and the Director of Special Education. We teachers are working our butts off to try to do the best we can for all of our students, and we shouldn't be putting up with this crap. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Following Mr. Burns, Jen Baker.
Teresa
Let's see, Teresa Wells will be next after Jen Baker. Welcome.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm here tonight because I attended Murrieta Valley's back to school night and was shocked to see a bulletin board in an AP language classroom promoting Banned Book Week. This board featured images and descriptions of books that contained sexually explicit content, violence, rape, incest, and drug use. The teacher displayed discussion topics advocating for free and open access to these materials, support of the freedom to seek and express these ideas, and question, should free speech be limited? One of the statements on the board asked, how can staff contribute to a safe environment for students to engage with controversial topics? The answer is simple. Adults should never engage in sexually explicit conversations with minors. This teacher is normalizing inappropriate interactions between adults and children. There is a term for this. It's called grooming. By creating a safe environment for adults to discuss inappropriate topics with children, she's opening the door for inappropriate actions against them, such as the actions that led to the arrest of a Thompson Middle School teacher for sexually abusing children. After reaching out to the school and district, the principal informed me that he was in the same classroom that night and didn't notice the board, but admitted that this teacher was in clear violation of Ed Code 6144. If he didn't notice this, I'm concerned about what else is happening on his campus without his knowledge. What concerns me even more is the silence from the superintendent and board members Lunn, Young, and Diffley. Coincidentally, these are the same board members who voted against the parental notification policy. Why are they silent? Are the superintendent and these 3 board members working together to keep parents in the dark about what's happening in our classrooms while allowing the sexualization of minors to continue unchecked in this district? So I'm here to ask these questions again. What school-approved and community-reviewed standards justify promoting sexually explicit material to children? What is the district's disciplinary policy regarding teachers who discuss topics like rape, violence, and incest with minors? Lastly, what does the district consider adults discussing sexually explicit topics with minors to be free speech? And my final question will be for the parents. Do the actions of these 3 board members reflect the actions of people that we should trust representing our children? Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Welcome.
goodness.
Excuse me for 1 second.
Sorry.
After Teresa Wells will be Emily Brooks. Thank you for
Sure.
waiting.
Good evening. Hi, Dr. Andrus, President Diffley, and the school board members. I am standing here wondering what new drama will erupt at tonight's meeting. There's always drama at these meetings the past 2 years. Will tonight's unnecessary drama come from the board, the audience, or both? You know, when I speak to the old timers on the school board or in the community, they all recall a time when school board meetings were relatively dry affairs, you know, almost boring. However, following the 2022 election, when Mr. Pardue and Ms. Vandegrift were elected, this particular school board has become as fractured and divided as our nation. I am standing here tonight to say that it doesn't have to be this way. We need to heal this school board. This divisiveness is not good for the students, the teachers, the administrators, or the community. I would like to say something that is sort of like the elephant in the room here. I don't know if the listening audience online or some of the people who are new here today realize that in 2022, one of the first action items for this board, if Nancy Young had not been elected, we have 2 school board members who would have probably fired our superintendent, Dr. Andrus. This is exactly what they did in Temecula. The first thing they did in Temecula under Komorowski was fire the school board president. We do not want that to happen here. I bet most of you have never heard this information before. That's because there's virtually no local news reporting this stuff again. The superintendent and other administrators here are walking on eggshells. We have board members here who would jump at the chance to dismiss him. I would like to say that the teachers union does have great disagreements with the school board this year. And thank goodness our teachers have a union in this divisive school board environment. They need protection from the likes of these 2 trustees. I feel bad for the superintendent and other administrators that they are not in a union. I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. After Emily will be Josefina Hartley. Welcome.
Hey, good evening. So when I saw the agenda item tonight regarding the political activities of district employees, I was curious what prompted that to be on the agenda. It sounds like it has to do with a union meeting that I believe took place maybe during lunchtime, so not during folks' working hours. And as the policy states, no employee shall be prohibited from participating in political activities on their own time. It's a freedom of speech issue. I know, Mr. Pardue, you're all about our constitutional rights, and so I'm curious as to why you would put this on. You're so interested in advancing parents' rights that aren't detailed in the Constitution. Freedom of speech is, and the freedom of speech of employees on their own time to engage in political activity should be protected. If you want to protect undelineated rights in the Constitution, protect this one too. You know, it's a two-way street. But I'm really curious about it because when I saw the agenda item, my thoughts went to an event that took place in November of last year. I was invited, along with every other member of this community, as a parent, as a community member, to a town hall. I received the invite through Peach Jar from Thompson Middle School. It said it was hosted by Assemblymember Sanchez and also by the Murrieta Valley School District. I went to that meeting, and it was essentially not even a vainly disguised political rally. There were Sanchez campaign signs all along the parking lot leading up to Mesa. There was a Sanchez campaign sign on the podium, and every person who spoke that night was ranting and railing against the governor of California, the legislator of California, clearly hot-button campaign issues that were purportedly sponsored by the school district. I was appalled, so appalled that I reached out to the ACLU the next day, because clearly that kind of activity is what this policy is meant to stop. Using the logo of the school district, the mechanisms, the facilities of the school district to advance a clear political agenda is wrong. Trying to stop employees on their own time from meeting with a union, ridiculous.
Thank you. Josefina will be followed by, oh, don't have a name. Yeah, okay.
Jose Carreno.
Jose Carreno.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm here to inform the Hispanic community, and Denise will translate what I'm going to say. Okay. Fui informada de una junta que pasó el día agosto 13 de este año, que ocurrió en Chavela, en el salón de dicha escuela del capítulo 223. Era una junta de negocios y una lista de lo que pasaría fue circulada. La señora Muñoz, quien es candidata en Murrieta, fue permitida hablar en dicha junta. Y habló, aunque no estaba en la lista de invitados, Linda Land y ella hablaron de su campaña y pidieron para sus campañas. Les dijeron a los que atendieron que quien votó en contra de más taxes, o sea, del bond, y pasaron una forma que ayudara a sus campañas para que ella se beneficie. Estas acciones cambiaron la intención de esta junta de negocios a una junta política. En vez del reporte del tesorero o minutos para otros reportes, esta, yo pienso que es una violación del uso de facilidades de la escuela para campañas políticas y para las candidatas, y pido, y tal vez es ilegal, y yo pido que por favor se tome una acción y que esto no vuelva a pasar.
Thank you, trustees. This is related to item G11. I am aware of a meeting of CSEA Chapter 223 on August 13th from 12 to 2 in the Chavela Multipurpose Room. There was an expectation this was a chapter business meeting as an agenda was provided. Mrs. Munoz, who is running for a school board position, was permitted to speak even though she wasn't on the agendized list of guest speakers. Trustee Lund and Mrs. Munoz each spoke about their current political campaigns. Mrs. Alvarado went as far as to encourage support of these two candidates and told attendees 2 trustees voted against a bond which could threaten their salaries. Additionally, she circulated sign-up sheets for attendees to volunteer to help with these 2 candidates. These actions appear to have shifted the intention of the meeting from a business meeting to actually being politically motivated during school hours on school property. This is supported by the fact that the actual agendized business, such as the treasurer's report and approval of minutes, didn't even happen. It is a violation of district policy to use school resources and facilities in support of political campaigns, candidates, and initiatives. These actions put the district in a legally compromised position. The board must address these violations and ensure it doesn't happen again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jose Carreno, followed by Lynn McKeever. Len McKeever afterwards. If I mispronounce it, please correct me. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank whoever the board member was who suggested the addition of this item to the agenda, G11. Thank you. So I just learned from a reliable source about an inappropriate and possibly illegal political activity that may have taken place in one of our schools. So after what I heard already, I'm going to take out the may have. Sounds like it did. So what I'd like to ask the board tonight, here's what I would like to ask the board to find out from this discussion tonight. Well, sounds like to me, first I was going to say, did this meeting take place? Well, it sounds like it did. So if so, was there inappropriate activity? Sounds like there was. But you'll find out, I hope. Who were the participants? Yeah, who were they? And it would be nice to have a complete explanation because, as always, the public trust is on the line. And I don't know for a fact who was there, but I was very disappointed to hear of one of the persons that may have been there. I hope I'm wrong. Once the facts are known to you, and most importantly to the public, there has to be accountability. If this event took place, whether by accident or by design, someone must be held accountable. Not just an apology, but a discipline that matches the seriousness of the violation. It sounds really serious to me. I'm no lawyer. I don't have any letters behind my name. But after going through some of the codes, I'm thinking, this is pretty bad. This district cannot be seen as taking sides in board elections. If this political meeting did take place, even if it was company time, it was using company resources, or, excuse me, district, I'm from the private sector, district resources. If this political meeting did take place, it's not just morally wrong, but most importantly, illegal. There's been a lot of talk about exposing ourselves in past meetings to legal liability. Well, here it is. Lack of trust in the district is the root cause of contention in a lot of these board meetings and actions. This event, if it's proven true, is just helping to deteriorate that trust. Thank you.
Thank you.
After her is Sue Stein.
Okay, and following Ms. McKeever is Sue Stein. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm here tonight because I have 3 precious granddaughters in this district. And I'm extremely disappointed that Paul Diffie, Linda Lunn, and Nancy Young voted not to join the Liberty Justice Center lawsuit against AB 1955. In essence, Mr. Diffie and Mrs. Lung voted not to defend our adopted Murrieta parental notification policy, which would have protected our children in the Murrieta by supporting the rights of parents. You appear to be afraid of lawsuits, that you are willing to risk the safety of our children by keeping secrets from parents. The district will most likely be sued anyway by parents and students because of hiding important and valuable information from the parents. And actually maybe result or could result in injury to our children. As of January 2025, when AB 1955 goes into effect, you will be left without any protection. Our ultimate goal is, of course, to get AB 1955 repealed, and it would apply to the entire state regardless of who is in the lawsuit. The parents hired the school to teach, not to do my job or the parents to do the job. Thank you.
Thank you. And following Sue Stein will be Michael Furman, I believe. Yeah. Welcome.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Andrus. A lot of people ask me, what are you doing here? You're retired. I go, because there's things that matter and you have to stand for it at times. A lot of people don't understand that, so I hope you do. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for the work you do, all of you, at MVUSD. I wanted to specifically thank Nick Pardue and Julie Vandegrift for the homework done behind the scenes on the bond. I became particularly interested in how bond money is spent when I witnessed the shoddy paint job that happened at Thompson Middle School when all the blue trim doors were painted. Paint was all over the ground. I took pictures, showed admin. They didn't want, you weren't even here at the time. These contractors would have been fired if they were under my supervision. So I said, I'm going to be mindful when another bond comes through. You see, learning doesn't really change with a shoddy paint job. So we'll be fine without the bond for now. And we voted. And we respect votes. And we have to learn to say, can I live with that as a team? Can I live with the vote? You guys have to live with that. Learning happens in the classroom with well-equipped teachers. I think we need to focus on what improves student learning. Since we focus on so much on test scores, we need to really focus on what teachers and students need in the classroom to be successful. In a book, Today Matters, by Maxwell, he says, bring something good to the table. That's what I'm trying to do here. At a previous board meeting, the speakers were talking about how the taxes for residents would not go up. That was disingenuous. It would be, in fact, a replacement tax. And we need to do better than in conveying information transparently. Because currently, commodities, services are up about 21%. Insurance, car insurance is up about 55%. That affects every individual in our community. And I know sometimes when we're sitting here, we can't think about all those things. We're focused, when I taught math, I thought math mattered most. But all the other things mattered too. All right, the district needs to be accountable to provide a detailed list of specifics on what the bond would provide so that people can be informed and the board would hold them accountable. Right now, people need a break in taxes and high prices. I see many posts on board candidates based on the fact that Pardue and Vandegrift didn't vote for the bond. This is weak. The amount of money California spent on homelessness and COVID did not make a significant impact on the citizens. Let's reflect on that and get back to the basics of equipping teachers so that academics is the key topic of our schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board and superintendent. My name is Mitchell Furman. My wife and I have 2 children that go to Thompson Middle School. They're twins, and they are in the 6th grade. Yesterday, while I was on duty, I got a phone call from my wife that an incident happened at the school. I have emailed, I apologize, superintendent, I did not email it to you. I emailed all the members of the board the video that happened off of school grounds. I'm sorry, I did that at about 4:15. I emailed it to the email that's on the website for your emails. And it's the video of what happened after my son and my daughter left the school grounds on their way home. My son and my daughter entered the bike corral, and my son was assaulted from behind. My son turned around to face whoever it was that did it to him, and was faced with 3 different individuals. My son defended himself, immediately turned around and told his sister to go to her bike. He went to his bike, which is at the opposite end from the entrance, went to his bike and told his sister, get on your bike and go as fast as you can to get home. Unfortunately, because there's so many kids that are trying to get out and it's a restricted egress, that wasn't able to happen. That's when my son was assaulted again from behind. The Murrieta Police Department has, according to my meeting with them this morning, the school resource officer informed me that my son was not assaulted, his backpack was assaulted. His backpack was what he was wearing. I see that you have the same confused look on your face that I did, but I do understand, being a firefighter and working with law enforcement, that there are interpretations, not necessarily my interpretations. After my son was assaulted, he turned around to face the second person that assaulted him. That person moved away from him, and he went after that person and took him to the ground. He did not strike them. He did not close his fist. He just took him to the ground. He then got up and then went to his bike and told his sister, get out of here and ride as fast as you can home. I want to inform you that there is a school employee that stands outside of the bike corral. That school employee, during both of these incidents, if you get to view the video from the school, the incident takes longer than 47 seconds. That individual never entered the bike corral. My son and my daughter left. As you see on the video, those now 4 individuals immediately left the bike corral in the direction of my son and my daughter, some of them on e-bikes, and chased them. Unfortunately, I don't have any video of that. The video I have is the video that is in your email of what happened when they cornered them on the street about a quarter of a mile from my house. My son put his bike down and put his back to his sister and told his sister to stay behind him. He said 3 things. Stop it. Leave me alone. Go home. You're going to see in that video, my son said those 3 things. He did not cuss at them, and the entire time my son kept his hands at his side. All 4 of those individuals decided that they were going to confront him. The Murrieta Police Department summary is that my son was the aggressor because he took 1 step towards them in saying those 3 terms to them, and also that he did not turn around and run to a house behind him. I would like to tell you that there's an assistant principal that works at Dorothy McElhaney High School. I apologize. I'm sorry, I'm out of time.
Mr. Furman, I didn't get that email. Can you check the spelling on my name? Because that often gets
Yes, I will.
confused. Please.
And the assistant principal at Dorothy McElhaney High School, her husband, they live in the house across the street from when this happened. He heard my daughter screaming, and he left his house and came out, and he put an end to it. All of those children were forced to leave. And the 2 things that my kids did was get on their bike and turn around to that gentleman and say, thank you very much for helping us. I hope that you will help me give my kids an opportunity, and all the kids an opportunity to just go to school. And if these incidents happen, empower the people that work at the school to change it immediately. Thank you very much. And I apologize for going over my gut.
John Leonard.
Good evening. Hello, I have a memo here that I would like to read that was sent out to school staff by an admin to one of our elementary schools. My question is if Mr. Andrus and the board were aware of this communication. Is this district policy or just one person's idea of healthy, appropriate behavior for elementary age children? And the memo reads, "Hi team, this message is for all staff. When you are working with students, whether it is lining up on the playground or addressing a whole group, and this is in capital bold print, please make sure that the language you use and method that you use to group or line up students is inclusive of all of our students. We should not ever see lines of boys and girls separated by gender or hear anyone addressing a class as, quote, boys and girls. We do not want any student to feel uncomfortable being forced to pick between a boy line or a girl line, or having to face comments from peers if they pick a line that does not match what others may think they best match. There are some very easy and fun ideas linked below. Please feel free to reach out to me if you would like additional ideas. And then it lists two websites, one of them being 26 Genius Lining Up Strategies to make your life easier. And those are found at weareteachers.com. End of memo. So I'd like to return to this one sentence here. We do not want any student to feel uncomfortable being forced to pick between a boy line or a girl line. And my comment is what does this district come to? Could any of us have ever imagined that a public elementary school would caution its staff about addressing little kids as boys and girls? This reckless ideology is jarring. I once stated that the present generation is the most medicated, drug-addicted, suicidal generation in American history. Is there any wonder? Nothing good will ever become of this kind of instruction, and it, like many other things, and to many other parents here, is we're just baffled that this goes on. And anyway, that's my message about that. I'm going to send this out. If you don't have it, if this is news to you, if you've never seen this, I'm going to email it to all of you. If not this evening, I'll do it tomorrow, and then you can address it, because I think it needs to be addressed. And something completely off of my topic, but I believe that it's California penal code that any images of a child having a sexual contact with an adult, whether it be a cartoon or even a stick figure, is a felony to be in possession of that. And it doesn't matter that that book that's in, or a drawing that somebody makes, or an email meme that you make is an approved book for the school libraries. It doesn't matter. It's still against the law. So I understand why it's an approved book, but I don't understand why all of you folks, who I think are all good, decent people, would allow that type of thing to be in the schools.
A question.
Yes, sir.
My computer is locked right now, and I'm working to get it fixed. So if you don't hear from me, and this applies to any of you if you're writing me, if I don't answer right away, I may not have gotten it or gotten the darn thing unlocked, but I'll get to you. Appreciate it.
Okay, well, I'll send out my email by tomorrow evening. I'll do it, if not tonight, tomorrow. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, item E5, let's see. No, I'm sorry. Getting out of line. E4, Lisa Murray, President, Murrieta Educators Association. Oh, hi.
I actually filled out 2 cards.
There's one here with no name.
That
Let
wasn't
me
me.
try to find it. Okay. I'll say the name of the street to see if it's you. Camino Alamosa? Is that you? Okay.
Did I forget
Yeah,
to
there
put
was
my
no
name?
name on it.
There's no name? I
Mhm.
apologize. That's what happens when I don't have my reading glasses.
Good evening again. Listening to that man's story about his kids that were at my school, I'm so getting sick and tired of hearing my school in the public for all the wrong reasons. And my heart breaks for that man and his kids. And I hope to God this is the last time we have to hear about this stuff. The only thing, I just have a couple of quick comments regarding political activities. And actually, Dr. Andrus, I don't know if you're the person. I guess I have a question. If I know that people aren't supposed to be, wearing shirts and buttons and banners and on school property, endorsing particular candidates. If that does happen, what do we do? And please, if you can answer later or whatever, or email me. I don't know, but I'd appreciate if have a little bit of direction on that. Regarding endorsements, I think it's important for the public to know that when the MEA endorses somebody, they don't necessarily. Well, in this case, I know for a fact they did not vet all of the candidates that were running for school board member. So that's one thing that you need to keep in mind. Second thing you need to keep in mind is that they do so with the approval of the executive board. And so if it doesn't meet the approval of the executive board, then they don't get approved. They don't get endorsed. And endorsements may or may not reflect representation of all of the teachers. So I think the public needs to remember that. And then when you do go to choose, elect for somebody for school board, that you need to do your diligence and dive deeply into their background and find out what they have been doing for employment or jobs, things related to the school board, if it's appropriate or not appropriate, if it's ideologically radical or not, whatever. I'm just encouraging the school board members to do that, or not the school board members, but the people in the public considering who to vote for school board. I happen to endorse other people other than the MEA, just for the record. So thank you all for listening, and that's it.
A question for our attorney. When would it be appropriate to answer a question regarding what activities can or cannot be done on campus, et cetera, during a political campaign?
Yeah, I think there are a variety of different options, but I would not recommend that we provide answers to one particular speaker who is here during public comments. There certainly are opportunities and forums and vehicles the district has to share a message, an update, to communicate about those important rights, but to do it on the fly, you're setting a precedent that whoever asks a question should also be entitled to an answer. So I wouldn't recommend setting that kind of a precedent.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Oh, this is good. E5.
4.
We're still on E4?
You can skip me if you want, that's fine.
That was Lisa Murray.
We haven't gotten to it yet.
Well, where have you been? Sorry.
Listening intently.
Lisa Murray is the president of the Murrieta Educators Association.
Evil union president. Okay. Good evening, Dr. Andrus, President Diffley, and members of the board. I want to start by congratulating and welcoming 2 new members to our MEA Executive Board. Lisa Van Ryzen, District Lead Nurse, will be returning to our board as treasurer. We're excited to have her back on our team after a year-long hiatus. In addition, we have added a second elementary director to our board for the first time ever. Congratulations to Adriana Toon, 4th grade teacher at Avaha, who will be working alongside Brittany Satari as liaison to the MEA members at our 11 elementary schools. Next weekend, 6 members of our executive board will be attending a CTA leadership conference in Rancho Mirage, where we will have the opportunity to attend sessions on school safety, healthcare, district budgets, negotiations, tiered behavior supports, educational law, and more. The weekend after that, we are sending our elementary SPED director, Lupita Solano, and 3 of our members to Orange County to attend CTA's annual special education conference, where they will be trained in supporting neurodiverse learners in gen ed classrooms, inclusive practices, behavior management, instructional strategies, case management, strategies for English learners with IEPs, effective collaboration with gen ed teachers, optimizing use of instructional aids, and the list goes on and on. This conference is absolutely jam-packed with a wide variety of workshops supporting our special education community. On another note, my Vice President Julie Pilati and I had the pleasure of representing MEA at this year's District Employee of the Year celebration, where so many of our amazing members were awarded for their dedication, passion, and relentless commitment to the education and well-being of our students. Congratulations to all the educators who were honored this year, and to the outstanding classified employees and administrators who were also honored. It was encouraging and exciting to see so many teachers, administrators, and other district personnel there celebrating their colleagues and friends. A special thank you to the school board members who attended as well. It was great to see most of you there helping Dr. Andrus present the awards to this year's honorees. Lastly, I'd like to acknowledge the district administrative team and particularly Ryan Tukwa, for making student behavior management a focus this year. As we know, and as Mr. Burns mentioned earlier, this issue has been getting progressively worse over the last couple of years. And unfortunately, we have already had a couple of instances of unacceptable aggressive behavior by students toward teachers this past month. But Mr. Tukwa and the rest of the team have come together and stepped up their game to quickly and effectively address these issues as they occur, and they are working proactively to promote positive change in student behavior across the district. These aggressive behaviors affect teachers emotionally, mentally, and physically, which in turn impacts their ability to provide excellent instruction to students. Aggressive outbursts by students and physical and verbal assaults on teachers create a negative atmosphere for all students, significantly diminishing their learning opportunities. Sorry, I got it. It timed me out. Julie warned me I was going to be too long. My last sentence. MEA will continue to advocate for stronger protections and resources for teachers, and we are committed to
That's using your teacher's voice. Perfect. It's something we learned early on. Okay. Now E5, we'll hear from Sophia Shoemaker. Hooray. Glad to have you here and
Sorry,
hear your
just a
report.
moment, Mr. Diffley.
Yes, sir.
Freddie Musquez is not here tonight. Mr. Carter, were you going to make a comment on behalf of the CSEA tonight or no? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we had a SAC meeting on August 29th where we talked about childhood cancer awareness, and we did a club share where we talked about the different clubs that our schools offer. And to add on to that, we did culture building when we talked about our schools and how we could build a relationship with students and the community.
Great. Thank you. Moving on to F. Consent calendar items are voted on collectively as a group. Upon board member request, items may be removed from the consent calendar for discussion and individual action. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar items F1 through F7 as presented?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? Hearing none. Student preferential vote. Yes or no?
Yes, sorry.
Thank you. It gets easier. Okay, let's see. Where was I? Oh. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Action information items. Approval of the personnel report. This calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Oh, this is a good one. G2, approval of revised substitute salary schedule effective September 12th, 2024 and January 1st, 2025. This calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? I say hooray for that.
I just have to say, substitutes really deserve every dollar they make. It is a very, very difficult thing to step into a classroom, especially in the environment today. I would just
And
say.
then some. Yeah. Thank you. Student preferential vote.
In favor.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Moving on to G3, adoption of resolution number 24/25-4, recognizing October 13th through the 19th, 2024 as Week of the School Administrator. This calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? Yeah, school administrators, as we have heard tonight, handle a lot of difficult things, things that come up that you don't expect. And in addition to that, you're supposed to help run the school too. So as Mr. Pardue has said, they have some tough things that they go through, and I think a resolution recognizing them as week of the school administrator is good. Student preferential vote.
In favor?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. G4, adoption of resolution number 24/25-05 to establish a district GAN limit for fiscal year 2024/25. This calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments?
Could I get an explanation?
I was just going to ask that.
Mr. Whittington, would you mind joining us at the podium and walk through this again?
So the district scan limit is our state spending cap. In California, K-12 schools are served as one conglomerate, so we report up to the state, and the state reports for K-12 education. So I think it's Prop 11 from 1979 that limited the growth on state spending. And so this is our reporting to the state, so they can do that aggregate reporting at the state level for spending.
Great, thank you. Student preferential vote?
In favor?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. So if you don't be afraid to speak up. There is no wrong answer. G8, adoption of resolution number 24/25-07. Wait a minute.
G5. Approval of unaudited actuals.
Grab two pages at once, sorry. If you want to stand while I'm doing this and take a break, you're welcome to do that.
It won't take that long.
G5, approval of 2023/24 unaudited actuals financial statement. This calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments?
I just have a quick question for maybe you, James. So where would I find, or,
Could you speak into your microphone?
yeah, okay, I don't know, it doesn't seem to work very well. Okay. So is there a balance sheet somewhere on the website? I looked at the budget, but there's revenues and expenditures, but I didn't see.
All of our reports will have a balance sheet, so there will be one for each fund. And so in the unaudited actuals report, there'll be each fund financial statement. It starts with revenues, expenditures, fund balance, and the next page, usually after it breaks down the fund balance, will be a balance sheet in there as well.
And so what about our land and buildings? Is that on something separate?
Full accrual accounting. So the unaudited actuals are reported on a modified accrual basis of accounting. That then gets converted to full accrual during the audit process. So the auditors will take that, and when we have our audited financial statements, we report the government-wide statements on the full accrual basis, which will include things like land, the net pension liability, OPEB, all that stuff that gets reported there. There is a long-term debt schedule and a capital asset schedule in the report, but the unaudited actuals are fund financial statements, and that conversion to full accrual hasn't happened yet.
Okay, thank you.
Student preferential vote?
In favor?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. G6, adoption of resolution number 24/25-06, appropriations due to the reconciliation of the 23-24 estimated ending fund balances to the 2023/24 unaudited actuals ending fund balances. This calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments? Hearing none. Student preferential vote.
In favor?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. G7, public hearing, proposed adoption of resolution number 24/2507, increasing the statutory school fees imposed on new residential and commercial/industrial developments. I hereby open the public meeting at 7:43.
6:43.
Ah, 6. I was wishing.
I know it seems longer, but.
It does, sorry. 6:40. Oh.
3.
3, let's call it 3. Do we have any comments or guardians, or questions, what am I saying? Hearing none, I hereby close the public meeting at 6:43. That's a quickie. Adoption, G8, adoption of resolution number 24/25-07, increasing the statutory school fees imposed on new residential and commercial/industrial development projects. Call for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? I have one. If this is passed, when does this take place? When does it start?
Mr. Daniel, do you want to chime in on that, or James?
Yes, November? 60 days. 60 days past the date.
Okay, great, thank you. Student preferential vote?
In favor?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. G9, the review of investment report for the quarter ending June 30th,
Did
20.
we do G8? We did. Okay,
We just
sorry.
voted on it.
That's all right. I'll read it again. G9, review of investment report for the quarter ending June 30th, 2024. The board has received this report for review. Moving on, G10, review of Associated Student Body financial reports for the quarter ended June 30th, 2024. The board has received this report for review. G11, discussion item pertaining to board policy and administrative regulation, 4119.25, political activities of employees. Call on Jonathan Pearl. Mr. Pearl.
Thank you, Mr. Diffley. We've heard a number of actually public comments tonight about what people believe the facts are or what the law is. And a number of comments tonight were actually about liability exposure and legal issues. And I know that the purpose of this agenda item tonight was to discuss the policy. My recommendation would be that as a first step, I would suggest to the board that you table this item for now. Have the benefit, because there have been claims or concerns about liability exposure being raised. I think that the board is entitled to meet in closed session to hear from legal counsel first about the issues presented, and then to then come back when the time is right to discuss the item after I think more information's been shared with the board. That would be my recommendation to you at this time.
Okay. And that could be accomplished with the next closed meeting, right?
That could be, it could be reviewed and discussed the next closed session in October, I'm presuming. You know, rather than the board or individual board members saying things tonight, I think it would benefit the board greatly to have a discussion in closed session.
Okay. So, do we vote for closed session?
Well,
I have a question.
Of course.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I know this issue came up. I've spoken with President Diffley a while back, and I've had a number of complaints about this particular the CSEA event. My concern is, why would we not have done that in closed session tonight?
Actually, I don't think it was presented, or it wasn't clear at the time those discussions occurred about either the legal concerns or the liability concerns, and we thought it was just a discussion of policy. And at that time, it didn't seem like it was appropriate for closed session. But really, what the Brown Act provides is when the facts and circumstances suggest that an item could lead to potential litigation, then it is appropriate to have a closed session. So actually hearing more of the tenor of what's underlying all of this evening, that's why I'm making the recommendation. If the board did want to table the item, it would be a motion to table. It would require a second, but there would be no discussion on the motion to table. It would be an up or down vote.
I have a question about something that would not refer to liability. It was mentioned to me that maybe this was an FPPC matter, and I did call them today, and they said that's not in their jurisdiction. And then with California Ed Code, it seems like, as opposed to civil liability, there is a criminal potential. You know, this Education Code 7054.
That's not there is a potential misdemeanor consequence for
And felony, too.
7054.
It says felony also.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just saying that would be separate from a liability consideration, correct?
That's also, I think, a liability issue, but it also deals with protected rights that members of unions have, that employee organizations have. What does 7054 actually prohibit? Does it apply to premises and property? What rules has the board actually enacted? There are a whole host of issues. And I would just think we ought to parse that out and closed. And then I think, as a number of people in the audience and who are attending this meeting have asked for more of an update, that information be provided, I think you would serve your community well by addressing it in incremental steps rather than just having an uninformed discussion right now.
Well, I would hate for this to be uninformed, and I'm
Yes.
really disappointed to think that in 5 days we wouldn't have more information, because the appearance in front of the public is that we're covering something up. And that was the number one thing I wanted to avoid, and one of the reasons why I thought it was important to have a discussion about what is and what is not. With the backdrop that in August, we were sent, and I printed it out, all the do's and don'ts for political activities. And I find it interesting that after being briefed, that we have quite a situation here where not only the public's aware, but employees are aware that there's been impropriety. And tabling this particular issue and potential investigation by the DA's office into this issue and the candidates involved is significant. And I think this is making us all look really bad if we're tabling this.
Can I
of
just
course.
make a suggestion? Because the next scheduled board meeting is not until October, but if this were to be tabled at this time, President Diffley could call for a special meeting, which we would have an opportunity for a closed session then.
I have another follow-up question. So what would be the fact-finding mechanism for getting to the facts of what happened? What would we be relying on to know what the facts were?
Right. I think there would be discussion with people who were actually in attendance at that meeting, but there are a lot of things in play. And, who was there at the meeting? What was said? That meeting, as I understand it, was also convened pursuant to 14.7 of their collective bargaining agreement. So there are a lot of facts that were shared tonight that are incomplete, and I think it would behoove the board. It's not a cover-up, and I think the suggestion of impropriety is jumping to a huge conclusion, and actually it is a very it's not a complex area of the law, but there are lots of different factors to consider. And sadly, people misread what 7054 actually requires and doesn't require, and then how that relates to your civic center law and how that relates to your board policy that you have. There are a lot of interrelated policies and laws at play here. But what I'm trying to emphasize is it makes sense before we jump to conclusions about impropriety or whether there's been any illegality at all. I think it would serve the board well to know what legal concerns are at issue, and then to make an informed judgment as far as next steps go.
So we do have a special meeting in a few weeks, and I would close session, right? Don't we have another?
Yes, I don't have the date in front of me, but in a few weeks' time, we have another meeting, and we could put it on the schedule for that one.
I would prefer that we do not stall, and that's the biggest concern. And that was part of why I wanted to make sure it was on, that we would be able to have a discussion. But I guess the nature of everything, I'll tend to agree. It's a very serious situation, and
actually, just to clarify, I didn't say serious. I did say it's complicated as far as the different areas of law, and I want to try to make those crystal clear to the board.
anytime the word felony shows up, it's serious.
Yeah, I didn't say felony.
No, the ed code says felony.
So is there a motion to table this?
I will make a motion to table it.
Second.
And then it's a vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye. Motion carries. G9 and G10, those things have been received, the reports have been received. Yeah. G11, discussion item pertaining to board policy and administrative regulations.
We just covered that.
We did that, yeah. Superintendent report, H.
Thank you, President Deefley, and those members of the audience. Appreciate you being here. And as you heard, there's lots of good questions out there and things that are worth discussing. And at this time, we're gonna hold back some commentary on some of those good questions. There'll be a lot of follow-up, especially with our board, about some of the things that have occurred. I do know that our staff is working diligently to resolve many of the issues and concerns that are addressed tonight. This has been a very challenging week. It's actually, I think on Tuesday, I said this is like, I think we had a great month on this week, because it was really challenging with the many different things that occur. One of which was the airport fire. It's something that's been an impact on our air quality, ash and so forth. I live in the community, so I get it too. We all know about that. Please know that we monitor that all day, every day. Someone who's been in my office knows there's a giant TV that's got the current air quality monitoring up, which is right, those sensors are on our schools, and we monitor that. We monitor that. We are in touch with our law enforcement and fire officials on a daily basis, checking in to see the progress in which direction those things go. We're very blessed that the weather changed in a very favorable condition. It was great to have a nice foggy morning this morning, right? A lot of humidity and cool temperatures, which helped our firefighters hopefully make some progress. Some of our neighboring schools were not as fortunate. They've had to close. Whenever the decision is made to close a school, it is a very, very difficult decision, and there's quite a few reasons why. If there's not adequate reason that can be defended with some legal definitions, such as evacuation areas or your school's an evacuation center, school district's not reimbursed for that lost day of budget services, and you have to come back on a Saturday or what was a holiday or a vacation day and make it up. And then we have really poor attendance, and we don't have people who enjoy doing that. So it becomes very, very difficult to make that up. Also, we recognize many of our families work, and they simply are not able to keep their kids home because they may have to work. So we try and avoid having to do that whenever possible, but we do make that decision when necessary. We're entering the second month of school. We're delighted to see so many activities for students and families occurring at schools. Everything from the 9/11 memorial services, which I was able to attend 2 of them, our athletic programs, math nights, I think one is tonight. I'm not going to make it there. It's great to see our families and students coming together. We love partnering with our community members to see all those wonderful things happening. It's great to have our student reports back again. We enjoy hearing from those students. I enjoyed meeting with them and all of our ASB leaders this last month and get to counsel with them and hear from them about the things that are on their mind, about their experience in school and what they are experiencing as they see happening for them and their classmates. I want to take time to congratulate a few of our schools. There's a program, it's an educational phrase. Of course, it has an acronym, but I'm going to say it first, then the acronym. So we have a program called Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports. It's how do we help youngsters make good decisions. It's a sub-piece, what we call multi-tiered system of support. This thing has a fancy acronym called PBIS. These schools are being recognized by an organization in the state of having made tremendous progress in these implementing and developing these systems. Monte Vista received the gold standard recognition. Alta Murrieta, Rail Ranch, Thompson, and Warm Springs Middle Schools also received the silver recognition, and E-Hale Kern received a bronze recognition. So I want to congratulate those schools. I think we're going to recognize them in an upcoming board meeting. I was able to attend two of the 9/11 memorial services. One at Murrieta Valley, which was very touching, what was presented by our students, and then another one at Vista Murrieta High School. The students put on terrific assemblies to hear choir sing, our ROTC programs, the celebration and recognition of the flag. At Vista Murrieta, because there's 3,500 students, they don't all fit in the gym. So the seniors and the juniors and the PE classes get to attend, and everyone else gets to watch a broadcast, which is done to a near professional quality by our broadcast students to the rest of the school in their classrooms and online. Something was said by Sergeant Hess, I believe, from the Huss, thank you, from the Murrieta Police Department. He shared his story. He was a senior in a freshman English class. He laughed about that one. The day of 9/11, and he sat down like, oh, this looks like a movie. What are we watching on TV? Until the second aircraft hit the tower. He recognized this is that moment that you never forget where you're at, like his grandparents talked about Pearl Harbor. This was this generation, my generation's Pearl Harbor moment. He later served in the U.S. Army, I believe, and served overseas defending our country. And he mentioned this, which was the most powerful part of his story. He encouraged us to think about September 12th, 2001. And on that day, we were all Americans. On that day. So all of us in the room, because we're not the teenagers who were not alive then, all of us were alive that day. Just judging by some faces here in the room. Remember what that was like. We were not separated by race, by gender, by ethnicity, by religion. Nothing separated us. We were all Americans for a few days. And that lasted for a while. I longed for that. And he mentioned that. And he asked, and he challenged those students that day to be kind to someone, to reach out to someone, to listen to someone, to lift someone up. And I hope that our America can return to that feeling or try and remember that as we think about this patriotic time, about the sacrifices that were made by those who went to serve, by what it means to be our country. Sometimes we are kind of a little asleep, but we kind of stand up, don't we? And we do. And so I long for that, and I long for that in our community. The author Margaret Wheatley said, "It is not the differences that divide us, it is our judgments about each other that do." So I encourage us to think strongly about that, about September 12th, 2001, September 13th, 2001, and kind of what was my neighborhood like? What was my family like? We reached out to people, we talked to people, maybe not even people who we really knew, but right, first of all, there were no flights. That was a strange phenomenon, to never hear an airplane for about a week. And then to come back and go, and we carried on with school. I was an assistant principal that day, and we still had school, and we operated schools, and it was a very different experience. And so I encourage us to think about what that was like and how we proceed in these, because there's lots of differences, right? But we are Americans, and we're Murrieta-ians, and we should think in those terms often. Thank you, President Diffley. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Mrs. Lunn.
Well, it's been a busy back to school. I did go to the Vista Luau, which was a lot of fun and had a lot of student performances, which were just amazing. Several back to school nights, football games, which are so fun, just so fun. And they can't get rid of me as a band mom. I'm still out there slinging hamburgers and stuff over on the visitor side. I have been presenting for Rotary District 5330 on my Thailand anti-human trafficking vocational teams trip throughout the community. I am available to do that if anyone's interested. I do have to, with the caveat that it's probably not student friendly, so that, you know, if someone wanted me to do that, I would love to do it, but we need to take that into consideration. I can probably adjust some of it. But that has been really interesting, and there's a huge interest in this community to address anti-human trafficking, which actually does happen here in our little bubble in Murrieta. I don't want people to forget that. The Employee of the Year celebration was amazing over at McElhaney last week. When you see these just truly outstanding employees that put student learning and achievement first every single day, I love it. I attended the first LPAC meeting of the year, which is our Latino Parent Advisory Committee, and they're getting the year off to a good start with a lot of information for parents about how to get more involved, how to get information. Very informative. And I want to give a shout out to Tamara Dewey, Ioana Armadires, and Felipe Zanartu for doing that. And let's see, this morning at McElhaney again, we had the Compassion Awards, where multiple students were awarded for being compassionate, non-judgmental, inclusive, and just being all around good kids. And it was amazing to see the sense of pride on their face as they were recognized just for being kind. It was a good ceremony. And I also was able to go to the Vista Murrieta Air Force JROTC Remembrance Day yesterday, and Officer Huss's words stayed with me, Dr. Andrus, about, today, September 12th, is, if not equally, maybe more important than the tragedy that happened on September 11th, and we can't let that define us. As I spoke in the last meeting, we're not broken. We came back. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pardue.
All right, so one of the things that I had mentioned in the open was our discipline issues. It was really heartbreaking to hear parents, teachers. I did get to visit Vista Murrieta High School, Murrieta Valley High School, and Coal Canyon Elementary. My focus in taking the seat and then getting involved in the political process was teacher safety. That is like the top of the line for me. Because I've seen what can happen. I've experienced it firsthand. I've watched it at various schools. And if we went back to September 12th, we wouldn't have PBIS, I can tell you that. There'd be actual discipline taking place, and there'd be consequences for negative behaviors. And unfortunately, as we decide to go a different route, we're all experiencing the negative effects of that. And unfortunately, if we don't learn how to discipline our children, the outcomes for them, they're the ones who really pay the price. Because when we don't discipline children and we don't teach them proper behaviors, they're gonna go off into the world and have trouble holding a job. They're gonna go off into the world and conceivably end up in trouble with the law, which will really create a lot of problems. I think it's really important that we think about all the things that we do in education that aren't necessarily just reading and writing. Teaching children how to be respectful and protecting the learning environment in the classroom and respecting our teachers is really important. And as administrators and as a school board creating policy, I think that should be our number one objective, is to make sure that that classroom environment is a place for learning and not a place for students to act out, to get attention, for a variety of different reasons. And that's a priority for me. And it's one of the reasons why I asked, in light of what the state has done to handicap our teachers and our administrators in dealing with discipline, I'd asked this to be an agenda item back in July, put it in writing. And I was told that we need to put a report and delay. And here we are at the end of September. Meanwhile, we've had administrators get accosted by students. And unfortunately, everyone knows what's happening. And we look incompetent as we kind of fumble and wait till we have a report and come up with these newfangled ideas that are, to be quite honest, are failing. I'm very concerned about that. Second, I'm going to skip that. I did enjoy seeing the campuses on a real positive note. First of all, we have amazing teachers. The environment in the classroom. It is my first time to go to Vista Murrieta High School because they're rivals. I'm a Murrieta Valley guy. There's a lot going on there, right? So aside from the gym and the football field, I had never been through the classrooms and the hallways. It was amazing. It was a really, really a nice campus. And the environment, both of the students and the teachers, it was so positive. We do live in a blessed city and some great, great professionals. And I'd like to see that continue, you know, and as the junior high kids need to know that going to high school, whether it's at Murrieta Mesa, Vista Murrieta, or Murrieta Valley, is a special thing. You're not going to just automatically go there and act ridiculous. We need to make sure that they earn everything. They need to earn that right. And I think it's important that we really visit, at least have a conversation as a board about this, more than hearing data about different programs. It's very disheartening. The last thing is I did have a constituent who was just very adamant that I push this idea, and I tried to explain I don't have the ability to do this, but school funding in LCAP, we are at 50% along with Temecula compared to all the other districts in Riverside County. That amounts to almost 24 million, I could be wrong, but a lot of money a year. That's a lot of money. And we need to be pursuing that money because as we went and talked, I do believe in the Constitution. We should be treated equally under the law. Our children deserve just as much funding as every other child in this county. And that's the number one reason why I voted down the bond. We pay a lot in taxes. The state has plenty of money to fund our schools, but they pick and choose who they're going to fund. And that directly impacts everybody's paycheck. And it also directly impacts all the classrooms. So I highly encourage, and this is what the request was, President Diffley and the rest of the board, please join me in trying to fight for those funds. I doubt that that will happen with the makeup of the board right now, but I can guarantee you it will be a number one priority for me when I have the ability to do so. Thank you very much for the time.
Ms. Young.
Okay, I've been really happy I managed to go to several schools and see several events. I was also at the luau at Vista Murrieta. There was a great atmosphere, a lot of kids hanging out with their friends. There were families there. There were musicians there who are mainly teachers. One of them, a very good friend of mine. So yeah, it was a nice evening. I also went to another meeting of the Higher Education Coalition. What we are trying to bring a four-year university to this area. We've come up with a lot of the money. We still need to do some more fundraising. It's probably going to be in Temecula. There's a building there already. So it will be an extension of Cal State San Marcos, at least for now. So we are moving right along. Chuck Washington got us several $1 million towards this project. So we're going to have some upcoming fundraisers for that. I was also at the Employee of the Year event. I think it's very important to recognize our employees. It's just a very positive event. I was also at the ribbon cutting ceremony at Murrieta Elementary. It is a beautiful two-story building. It's well constructed. It will last. We need to do a whole lot more, especially on the west side of town, which is going to be a challenge. Lack of funds, but that's where most of the growth is going to be. So, but we at least got that. I did another volunteer event at Santa Rosa Plateau. It's called the Cowboy Jubilee. I don't know if any of you were there, but we're raising money. It's raising money for kids and local districts. We have the third grade program, which third grade teachers need to be on top of when it opens up because the slots do fill up, but the money we raise pays for the buses to take the kids to the plateau. And they have a really good education person there. And so he does some instruction in the visitor center, talking about the history of the plateau, the first people that settled there, the plants, the animals, and then they go on a nature hike. And I have noticed occasionally kids who maybe have never been on a trail before, like the way they stepped. So I could tell that was their first time on a trail. So I volunteer for that too. There are also things for middle school and high school. And there is a free event coming up for teachers on September 26th. I lost my notes here. So it's especially geared, they have activities for elementary teachers and middle school teachers and high school teachers. It's all science-based. It is free. The deadline to register is the 15th. So I think the district might send out a flyer about it. There is lunch that you would, if you do lunch there, you'd have to pay for it. But anyway, I really thought of that because I also did site visits at Buchanan and Vista Murrieta this week. And Buchanan has that garden going. And some of the instruction at that event at Santa Rosa Plateau involves planting a garden. So, but yeah, I went into several second and third grade classes. And then at Vista Murrieta, I went into an SDC class. And being a foreign language teacher, that's the thing I know the least about. But the thing that jumped, it was a small group of kids. What jumped out at me was the lighting in the class. She had several lights that had a calming effect, like it made me feel more relaxed. So anyway, it was interesting, like the type of lights you use do make a difference. And then at the high school, so that was there. I went into AP English, a sign language class, digital film production, chemistry, and math classes. And also as a teacher, I'm totally aware of the cell phone issue. It really, I personally did not want students having cell phones out. Like they had to be turned off in their bag. So I do always notice that. And out of all those classes, I saw one phone. So I think the teachers are doing a great job at reining in the phones, better than Temecula, so, from what I've seen. Let me see. And I also was at the 9/11 ceremony at Vista Murrieta. I thought it was very done, very touching. Most of us are old enough to have been traumatized by that event. I remember every minute of that day. I was teaching. I had a girl in my first class, I had first period prep that year, who told me her cousin was missing in the World Trade Center. At least she thought he was, because it was still, she asked if she could call her mom. This was before everybody had cell phones, so, he didn't make it. He had little kids, a wife, and then I had several coworkers who lost people, and my cousin worked at the Pentagon. And he did not get hurt, but one of his good friends in a nearby office died. So it did touch a lot of, it traumatized all of us. But a lot of us do have first, second degree connections to the East Coast. And we at least know people who lost people. But anyway. That's all I have. I was very happy to see the students back. I realized when I came in here, met our new student board member and saw them sitting over there that I really missed the students over the summer. So yeah, that's my favorite part of the meeting really, is to hear from the students. Okay, now I'm stopping.
Thank you. Mrs. Vandergrift.
Hello, everyone. So yes, it's, I guess I have to get closer here, back to the beginning of the school year. And so I've had opportunities to attend various community events and spoke to many constituents. I attended the Employee of the Year celebration at Dorothy McElhaney Middle School and the ribbon cutting at Murrieta Elementary. I reviewed the meeting agendas and did research on some of the agenda items. And I dived into the Keenan Safe Schools training, so I'm almost halfway through, and so I'm now seeing all the things that the employees learn about the defibrillators and the bloodborne pathogen exposure, And I didn't realize that when a child scrapes their knee, a special person has to be called. Only certain people are allowed to handle that. Anyway, email and messaging safety, which I guess was very pertinent to what happened with us last year, I'm assuming. The employee handbook, which I took a good look at, injury and illness prevention program, the model COVID-19 prevention procedures, which I couldn't help but wonder what would happen, you know, if we come across this whole thing again. And then the safety manual and the integrated pest management for teachers and office staff. So I'm only halfway done, but it's riveting. Anyway. And yeah, and I have talked to some people, you know, like this bullying theme is recurrent, and I don't really know. Hopefully we can get a handle on that. Anyway, that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. What was really nice about the Employees of the Year celebration was to look at the happiness of the teachers and their families. The pressure was off. They could talk to each other like human beings. You know what I'm talking about, but it sounds weird, doesn't it? It was the kind of thing that gives one inspiration of what happens when you help people, give them an opportunity to mix with each other without any heavy expectations, but just, I hate to use the word joy, but it's been kind of overused in the last day or two. But it was a joyful event and smiles on people's faces. It was really, really excellent. And gosh, the food that was provided, done by the catering folks, nutrition department, was stunning just to look at. I couldn't eat it, but it was really gorgeous to look at. Attended the ribbon cutting at Murrieta L and was over ahead of time to go up and look out and see what the students see when they're on the second floor. And it's lovely. It's a chance, you know, when you look at peaceful scenes, it tends to make you peaceful. And that's exactly what you see when you're up on the second floor of Murrieta L. And I have to compliment the architect and the builders, because just the fact that they used board and bat siding, certain colors, certain textures, made it fit the neighborhood. And that's something that we've talked about a lot, is being good neighbors with our schools. And they did such a great job. Unusual playground equipment. I'm sure I would have fallen off on my head if I was doing it, but other kids were clambering around just like they've done it all their lives. And the principal, Marcy Key, just has done a great job there. And it's a quiet kind of feeling when you step on that campus and you start to walk down the main area. There are big, shady trees. And when you get to the open area, it's sort of like the way Michelangelo designed St. Peter's Square, in a sense, like arms reaching out to hold you, to hug you. And what a place to be. I will not describe where I went to school, other than to say that I thought my teacher lived in the cloakroom, but it's not important. I was quite young. But they have a staff. I hope you get to go see it. Even if you go after school and just walk in and announce yourself and walk out there, because it gives you a great neighborly feeling. Just a really nice thing.
Mr. Diffley, one day you do have to share the cloakroom story, because it's a funny one. Just have to say that.
Oh. Okay. another time. A small thing, music plays a great deal in terms of calming people and in changing their moods and so forth. I don't think we pay enough attention to that in schools, and I would like to see more done. If you look at some classical high schools and classical elementary schools, things that people that teach the Socratic method and teach kids to be kind to each other when they have different points of view and learn to debate and not argue. We've seen that music helps a great deal. When I pick up the phone and call the district and have to wait, I'm greeted with a cacophony of horrible sounds. I'm sure some people enjoy them, but they obviously need help. I think if for example, if just starting with our phone system and having calm music, maybe Mozart's, what is it, 555, 455, well, never mind. But something calming, it might start as a small help. It's very important to me, and I would honestly like to see at some point some school, or perhaps a school inside of a school that does classical teaching, classical subjects, including Latin and all the other things that we've sort of tossed to one side. And those are my wishes, or thoughts anyhow. Thank you for coming. We will now take a vote, all in favor of adjournment. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for enduring to the end.